With Dino Fury and the way that it has been created, ended, and the entire season, you can tell that Simon Bennett and his team really cared about the entire series and what they wanted to show as their product. So it got me thinking on how Power Rangers in general under Saban, all the way up to the, I'd say Wild Force, midway to when he took back over from Samurai onwards and stuff like that, on how much he didn't care on how it kind of worked out, or in general, anything. So it got me thinking on if Saban actually cared with how like everything concluded, and this really kind of made me think and actually had a look all the way through. Note, I will say this, Ninja Steel completely forgot about, and even now kind of briefly looking at it, I can tell it fell into the same category as what Saban did, and he just didn't give a shit about it. Super Samurai went with the entire Zord footage, which looked kind of cool in a way. Super Mega Force literally started with the beginning of Gokaiger, which I think was a generally mistake for that one. Super Dino Charge, okay, they did something slightly different and kind of redid their own footage, but again, wasn't really written very well, which then caused so many continuity errors in the Power Rangers series, as well as just it mainly was shit. I'll make a video on that at some point. But it just generally made me think, did Saban actually care about this, or was he just, oh yeah, just use the Sentai, or do whatever you want, I don't care, because I don't care about this franchise. I believe that if you know how your series is going to end and you're going to write about it, then yeah, it can be actually pretty good. Look at the way that Dino Fury Season 2 ended. It was generally a really kind of cool way. Even Season 1, where we knew that it was just going to get one season, it ended in such a way that I generally really enjoyed it, and it actually stood out a lot more than what we have already. I feel like when you have the ending of the Super Sentai, you know exactly what you can do. Just have the main monster, have the thing shipped over, and then kind of switch to Japanese footage. Let's take Madame Odious, who literally would probably transform and was into a fox mode. But then when the Rangers would fight against her, again, in a downtown building or whatever, it just didn't really add to it. Yeah, you just put the voiceover and then you go, oh, this is the end, and then film your own stuff of the Rangers leaning back going, oh my God, I'm so glad about this. But I just think in general, doing something like that is quite lazy. And this is the reason why I think Dino Fury Season 1 and 2 really stood out when it came to the end. Simon did mention on Twitter that the visual effects team took 4 months to make that final shot. And I believe it. I think that is absolutely amazing. And that's how it stands out compared to other seasons that literally probably just took the end of Sentai and just used it like that because it was more convenient, that you wouldn't have to go and make more like footage, or you'd have to pay more or do more. You could just literally just dub over like we've seen in the past. Now, when I look at these seasons, how they've ended, I do generally feel like they just didn't know what they were doing, or they were like, oh, let's throw money at it. We'll just get them to do ADR and they'll be fine. But I feel like if you put time and money into and invest in this, like we've seen with other seasons, I feel like you do get the best kind of motif out of this, rather than just the generic, yeah, it's just easy writing, it's easy, pretty much easy. When it comes to Dino Supercharge, I do believe that they did think outside the box, and they couldn't just use maybe the end of whatever Sentai that was. I can't remember. If you know, let me know down below in the comments. But I feel like because you've got something like this, it makes it stand out more, that I could remember that fight compared to, say, Super Ninja Steel or the end of Super Samurai, where I watched them, but I don't really remember their kind of seasons. And we all know that at least Ninja Steel seasons 1 and 2 were really, really bad, to be fair. Now, I don't get why Saban didn't want to make this amazing series like he's always gone on, like how much he loved it. Yet you'd kind of think, well, hang on a minute, let's put a lot more money into this to actually say, hey, this would be really cool. Maybe he didn't want to spend a lot of money because maybe he didn't believe in the product after he bought it back from Disney. But then it just kind of makes me feel, why would you buy it back if you're not going to try and make it bigger and better? And now seeing the results of what Hasbro are doing with it, with Dino Fury, as well as like now going into Cosmic Fury and how that's going to go, I feel like you put the money in, you get the return. You're buying all the toys. If Cosmic Fury is going to look absolutely amazing, I want to buy the toys. I want to support and actually put money into this and go, do you know what? This is worth it. But yet with all the other endings, I just feel like Saban couldn't be bothered and didn't want to put a lot of money into it just to actually say, hey, do this. Look at the way that Super Mega Force ended. It made no sense, and especially the end when the Rangers teleport out in balls of light. It doesn't make sense because you have like the best scene in probably all of Super Sentai where every single Ranger is fighting the bad guys. That would make more sense to have it at the very beginning rather than at the very end where it's just like, well, you have all these X-Bugs for no reason. Like, it just doesn't make sense, and I feel like that's really bad because that season could have been the best. But why didn't you put that at the very beginning of, say, Super Mega Force? To turn around and say, hey, you had the whole thing with the Armada come in, it would make more sense to do something like that. But again, it was written really badly. I feel like a lot of Power Ranger endings need to kind of conclude. They need to make sense for you to go, oh god, that's a really good season. When I think back at past seasons like Time Force or any season like that, I feel like they knew what they were doing, how they were going to interact, and how they wrote the entire thing. But when I think about all the Neo Saban era, I feel like they just didn't know how to end it, and they just literally took anything in their hand, threw it against the wall, and went, that sticks, that's how we're going to do it. Because most of them didn't make really a lot of sense, or they just used Super Sentai footage just to kind of go, well, you know, if we do this, it's a lot easier, and it's a lot cheaper. When you look at Dino Charge, when you look at Dino Fury, in both seasons, you think, do you know what? This is actually pretty good. And it makes you go, wow, and all the praise that goes on Twitter. Dino Fury Season 2 had one of the best endings that we've seen in a very long time, and I absolutely loved it. But when thinking back to Samurai, Super Samurai, Megaforce, Super Megaforce, and then Ninja Steel and Super Ninja Steel, when I think about those endings, I just generally think, like they don't stick out in my memory, where Dino Fury Season 2 is going to stick in my memory for a very long time. But yeah, I just feel like Saban was really, really lazy. I don't feel like they knew exactly what they were doing, and they just didn't give a shit. I think that's the main thing. So I think that going forward, if you know how to conclude it and write it into the series, do it like that. Otherwise, what's the actual point? So tell me what you think down below in those comments, and yeah, I'll see you later.
チャンネルをサポートしてくれてありがとうございます。チャンネル登録、高評価お願いします。以下のリンクから商品を入手することができます。